Okay. This is my story. It started when I was 16. It was April, I was a junior in high school, and although I couldn't explain what it was, I knew there was something terribly wrong with me. No matter what I did, I could not ward off these thoughts. They were the most disturbing thoughts I had ever experienced, and even though I did not want to think about them, they would not go away. I was disgusted with myself. I was ashamed of my thoughts. The more I tried to wish them away, the more they persisted. I suffered in silence for a couple of months because I was too afraid to tell anyone. I mean, what was I going to do? Say, "Hey, Mom, I can't stop picturing disturbing and inappropriate sexual acts. Any tips for how to make this stop?" Yeah, I was sure if I told anyone, I'd be locked up, maybe have to do some type of electroshock therapy, something terrible. The suffering was becoming way too intense, and I saw two possible solutions. One, tell someone and ask for help. Or two, I guess, kill myself. I didn't really want to die, so I talked to my mom. I was really vague and general with her, telling her I was experiencing a lot of anxiety and it was distracting me from my schoolwork. I didn't go into detail, again, shame/fear/disgust, but nonetheless, we made an appointment with a therapist. So I went to therapy and started describing the same vague anxiety symptoms, but it was clear we weren't getting anywhere. And my therapist wasn't an idiot. I mean, she could tell that obviously I was hiding something. So I took a deep breath and did maybe the hardest/bravest thing I've ever had to do. I came clean. Preparing for the worst, I looked at her expecting shock, disgust, and horror, but she didn't even flinch. Actually, she looked sympathetic. She asked me to describe my experience a little more, so I did. I had disturbing sexual thoughts. I tried to push them away, but they persisted, and I felt hopeless. "What you're experiencing," she said, "sounds a lot like Obsessive Compulsive Disorder." Wait, what? OCD? Maybe she misunderstood my symptoms. I wasn't a clean freak, I was just a freak. But she handed me some reading material about OCD, and it started to make sense. Obsessive, intrusive thoughts, stuck on a loop. Yeah, that's me. But I didn't have a compulsion, a ritualistic behavior to help relieve my anxiety. "Pure O, that's what we call what you're experiencing," she said. "Obsessive thoughts with no accompanying compulsion." And the real kicker? There was a list of common obsessions. Fear of germs, anxiety over symmetry and order, and unwanted, taboo, forbidden thoughts about things like sex and violence. Okay, I have OCD, and she isn't going to lock me up. She's going to teach me about mindfulness, and we're going to use cognitive behavioral therapy to work through this. I left that appointment feeling a little overwhelmed, but also incredibly relieved. I wasn't crazy. I had OCD. The summer between my junior year and senior year of high school was rough. We were trying to use cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, to solve the problem, and I would do exercises like repeating an obsessive thought out loud over and over again, all the while recording it and then listening to the recording. This made me really anxious, and the idea was that the anxiety would reach a breaking point. What comes up must come down. Exercises like this were effective when I did them, but honestly, I didn't really put in the work I needed to. It was hard to do the exercises. They weren't fun, so I slacked off. I mostly just watched episodes of Bob's Burgers and 30 Rock to try to distract myself. Maybe I wasn't pure O after all. Maybe I was a compulsive Netflixer. Whatever the case was, I was struggling. By August of that summer, I broke down. I remember crying in my therapist's office, telling her I felt betrayed. My mind is the one thing I have that is completely my own, I explained through sobs, and I feel like it is betraying me. And I also admitted two scary things. One, that I was deeply terrified I would never get better and these thoughts would never stop haunting me. And two, that against all rationality, I was beginning to think about ending my own life. That's when she suggested we try medication in addition to CBT. My psychiatrist is a lovely, quirky, extremely intelligent man. I mean, to be honest, he was kind of a space cadet, but a brilliant space cadet, if that makes sense. He loved to draw diagrams of the brain on his whiteboard. The diagrams really helped, actually. I was beginning to think of my disorder less as a freakazoid illness and more of a chemical imbalance. It was kind of annoying that he insisted on drawing these diagrams at every single appointment. I was like, dude, I get it, but I guess it was also kind of cute that he wanted to make sure I got it. Or maybe he just forgot that he had already shown me the diagrams before. Anyway, I began taking Zoloft. I started with a really small dose and gradually increased it until we began to notice a change. Over the course of about a month of increasing the dose, I began to stabilize. Less symptoms, easier to deal with my thoughts and work on CBT, less difficulty focusing in school, and then after just a couple of months, I was symptom-free. I had honestly forgotten what it felt like to feel normal. It wasn't extraordinary, it was just normal. I was able to get back to living my life. I was also able to see more clearly now. I began to reconcile with the fact that OCD was probably something I had been dealing with for years, but just never knew. Like when I was 11 and couldn't stop freaking out over the fact that I thought I might be gay. Or when I was 13 and couldn't stop thinking about dying. At the beginning of the treatment, I wanted my obsessive thoughts to go away for good. I wanted to do whatever it took to make OCD disappear forever. But now I understood that the disorder might affect me in waves throughout my life. So, I guess that's why I felt a little less afraid when I relapsed 2 years later. All of freshman year and sophomore year of college were pretty much entirely OCD free. In fact, the first 2 years of college were pretty dope. I was finding myself, I was in musicals at school, learning a lot about acting, dancing my little booty off, dating too, even had a lovely boyfriend eventually. Second semester of sophomore year, I decided I wanted to talk to my psychiatrist about stopping my medication. I mean, I had been symptom-free for so long, and I didn't see a point in taking a pill every morning if I didn't need to. My psychiatrist agreed that it would be okay to start weaning off and eventually stopping Zoloft. He also drew plenty of diagrams to explain why this would be okay, obviously. Looking back, I don't regret this decision at all. Really? Even though it eventually led to my relapse? No regrets. If I hadn't stopped medicating, I wouldn't have experienced how quickly and strongly the OCD could come back. I think of it as a blessing because it deepened my understanding of OCD. Okay, I have to start with some background. At the end of my sophomore year, I took up an interest in getting a good handle on my health, and I began to focus on improving my diet and starting to exercise consistently. This was a really positive experience. Fun, even. I was developing a love for food and cooking. I learned how to make healthy, satisfying meals, and I had lots of energy, and with this new energy, I was exercising more. I was feeling good at my day job as a theater camp counselor, and I was rehearsing and performing in a musical at night. I was feeling really good about myself. I can't pinpoint exactly when things changed, but I know that by winter of my junior year of college, things began to go awry. I convinced myself that I was just being disciplined about what time I went to sleep and woke up, what I ate and when I ate it, how much I had to work out. But I mean, I was so rigorous about these things that I was putting myself in this bubble where I only had time for a quote-unquote self-improvement. I didn't have time for my friends, or my boyfriend, or having fun. I mean, I was nailing my schoolwork, and I guess I was physically healthy, but my soul was suffering. By February of my junior year, I was pretty much constantly thinking about food and my body, what I was going to eat, how much I needed to exercise, how healthy I was or was not, and I was also compulsively checking my body in the mirror, literally monitoring what my body looked like several times a day. I realized there was a problem. I worried that I was developing an eating disorder. I tried to combat this by surrounding myself with positivity. I wrote down mantras like, "You are beautiful just the way you are." And I said nice things to myself. Like I would literally look in the mirror and say to myself, "You are beautiful." But this only helped me a little bit, if at all. During spring break, I hit a really low point. It was time to face the fact that something was wrong and I needed to fix it. It wasn't even until I talked through what I was going through with my parents that I realized this was a relapse of OCD. Oh! I do not have time to be mentally ill right now. I honestly hated admitting that I needed help. I mean, I had spent the past several months getting my life organized, getting healthy, getting fit. I was supposed to be perfect. I was doing great in school. I was a lead in the school play. I was popular, organized, skinny, and Instagram perfect, and absolutely miserable. So I regrouped. I got back on my medicine. I went over the diagrams with my psychiatrist again. God, that man is quirky as hell, and I love it. I worked with a therapist at my school's counseling center. This time we relied on mindfulness as a strategy. Mindfulness is all about being present, existing with your thoughts, acknowledging your thoughts and feelings, enjoying sensory experiences. I meditated, felt my feet on the ground. Mindfulness really helped me to heal. Mindfulness and also Zoloft. I began to understand that OCD is something that I will continue to manage throughout my entire life, but I can manage it. I have the tools I need. I have resources for when I can't manage it on my own. I don't need to manage it on my own. Why would I, when there are people out there who can help me? Audio check. It's like I don't know what to say. I don't usually shoot without a script. I have OCD. But I don't feel like I'm sick right now, but sometimes I do. But however I feel, I have this awareness that I am living with a mental illness. One that I think is kind of isolating, alienating, because it's misunderstood, I think. I'm not saying it hurts my feelings or anything when people say things like, "Oh my gosh, I just need to organize things in a certain way. I'm so OCD." It just frustrates me because it shows me that they don't quite understand, which is okay. That's fine. That's part of why I'm sharing my story. I think that sharing your story is such a powerful thing. I'm sharing my story because I think it might help people understand what I've gone through, what people like me have gone through with OCD and other mental illnesses. Hopefully, if someone who is struggling right now is seeing this, they might begin to understand that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. But when I say that, it's important to also say that, at least for me, that light did not mean OCD going away forever, gone for good. Although in the beginning I wished that that were the case, and at the time I thought that it had gone away, but now I've learned this is part of my life now. And that's not devastating or upsetting. I have the skills and the strategies and the help and the support to live with this. Sometimes I forget that I have OCD. This is my story.
What's yours? Let's talk.